I'm Joseph School, and I'm an account manager here at Populi. If you just heard me say this a minute ago before I kicked everybody out, I'm sorry, but here we go. We're going to say it again. You might know me as your account manager, or you might know Nick Holloway. He's another account manager here. You might have talked with other people here at Populi. The main thing I want to let you know is that please ask me your questions as we go throughout. We're going to go over introduction to academics and how to set that up, especially if you're starting out brand new, or if maybe you're just brand new to the academic role and it was all set up before you came here. It might be a good idea just to know what they did when they set things up. I've got the Q&A. I've got another screen right over here. I've got the Q&A box right up there so I can see it. I might wait until the very end before I answer your questions. So be patient and it's totally fine if you want to type questions in at any time in case you forget or you're worried you might forget them. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see, we want this one. Good. So now you should see a login page, and I'll go ahead and log in. First off, I say this every time I do one of these, but I just want to make sure everybody who's on this call knows how to find help. Because I know sometimes we get totally brand new people and they're reaching out for help through this. This is a great way to get help, but there are also better ways if you just need some questions answered. So how do you get help in Populi? And this is all included in your guys' price and your guys' subscription. But there's a little help button up here in the top right. If you're the type who likes to research on your own, then you can, there we go. Then you can click search the knowledge base. If you would like to reach out to our support team, you can click open a support request. It's kind of like an email, and you can send that to our support team. You can also give us a call, and I'll give you that number right now. It's 877, the number 4, and the word Populi, 877-4-POPULI. And you can memorize that and use that right now. One other thing is you can, after you've submitted a support request, you can view those here. If you want to make a feature request, you can do that here. If you want to interact with our other clients, you can do that here. You can jump in on these group trainings. That's another place where you can learn. You can see the recorded group trainings on our YouTube channel here, including even some interviews with some of our clients and some little snapshots of new features. We have some shorter videos that are just like a minute or even 10 minutes, something like that. And finally, you can reach out to your account manager and schedule a one-on-one live training, just like this, same kind of webinar thing, except you'll be able to talk. You'll be able to talk about your situation. You maybe even could look over your own school data and help you there. So in short, reach out to us. We love to hear from you. The way our pricing works is any one of our 520 clients could leave next month, and we don't want you to leave. So we want you to enjoy working with us, and we want to make that easy for you as possible. We love our support team. Support team loves working here and loves helping people, and hopefully you'll hear that in their voice as they interact with you. And that's not just me, that's all our support team. So even our support team now have access to your school and be able to walk you through things that you need help with. So you can get lots of questions answered there during our support hours. There's a few articles in our knowledge base that I think are really important to point out. One is getting started with your school's new Populi site. We'll look at that in just a sec. Another is how to contact us and what we can do for you. This talks about the support and stuff that I just mentioned and gives you our hours. If you forgot that number, 877, the number 4 and the word Populi, it's in there and you can find that. And then down here, we've got every section divvied up in these little bubbles or these little boxes. So if I want to dig into academics, I go here, or admissions or financial aid. Actually, let's just go here now to academics, and I can see a variety of different groupings where I can dig in. And today, since we're going from the very beginning, we're going to do our getting started. Notice how we've got 10 steps. First one is start working on academic settings. I can click on this and I can read what I'm supposed to do. Now, it's only going to give me a high level summary. So these steps are not really getting into the details, but they link away to articles that do get into the details. So that way you can go back to the steps. If you just need that high level and you don't want to weed through all this stuff, then you could say, oh yeah, what's that step one? Oh, academic years. Oh yeah, that's right. First thing in step one is academic years. Oh, and here's that link to how I do that in detail. Or grades and attendance. Here's that link to how I do that in detail. Or general academics, rubrics, all the way down, all kinds of things. And so this is helping you get familiar with your academic settings. Now, I'm not going to go back here anymore. You guys can click around in there and use those as much as you want. Reach out to support if you have a question, or reach out to your account manager if you want to do a training webinar. I'm now going to show you these steps in my fake school. So step one, start working on your academic settings. Instead of clicking on the article, let's go to academic settings. You will need an academic admin role to do this. In academics, there's a variety of roles. Academic admin can do everything, see everything, change anything they want, and they can also change this settings button. So they have access to the setup and changing things behind the scenes. Registrar has read access to everything and write access to most things, so they can do almost as much as the academic admin can. They can see almost as much. The only thing the registrar is missing is this settings button. So the registrar can carry out all the stuff that needs to be done, but they can't edit, let's say, your grade scale or some of those kinds of settings. And then of course we have the faculty role, the student role, the advising role, that kind of fall under academics too. But for this tutorial, you'll need to have the academic admin role to be able to see the settings button, and we'll go in here. Now, you'll notice there's a lot of different things we could run through. If anyone has questions, then I will dig into what you guys have questions on. We have a whole general section, and so lots of different stuff here for your setup. This is probably stuff that was set up once and you probably aren't going to revisit again. If you're scanning through this and you're not able to get your question answered today, you can always just take a little picture of this or copy and paste it, send it to support and say, what's this one for? And they'll be able to help you. And you also might find it in our knowledge base. But what are the important ones? Well, first off, grades and attendance. If you had us import your data, then we set up your grade scale for you initially. This is my grade scale, very simple. I like it to be bare bones when I'm doing presentations. So there's no minuses or pluses. So there's probably, unlike any of you, I'm sure none of you just have A, B, C, D, F. You probably have some A minus, B plus and all that. But this has been my grade scale ever since 2004. If I need to update this, then I will click add, choose my new year when it's going to change. Let's say it's going to change this year, this fall. And then I can change all these out. I could even add a new grade so I can get a D minus down there and change those around. Notice how I don't need to do a grade scale for every single year. It's only the years that I change it. So if I had the same grade scale from 2004 forward until 2020, I just need those 2 catalog years and all your historic data will be totally great. If you want, you can also choose a retakes threshold. You can choose what your pass-fail grade scale is. You can choose how many tardies equal an absence if you want to have that kind of setting. You could choose some sort of minimum attendance. So maybe if they don't attend at least 60% or 70%, then they fail the course. So that's a definite requirement regardless of how well they do on their coursework. And if you want, you could even do a different abbreviation for a failure for non-attendance. So it's not a straight F, it's an FN or something like that. And then how do we handle excused absences? So this is grade scale, and this is and grades and attendance. This is a very important one as you're setting things up. Some other extra cool things here, but let's dig into academic years. This is another very important one. In Populi, the structure is academic year, and that academic year would be, you know, start year 2020, 2021, save, and it will show up like one of these. So academic year, and academic years contain terms, and then the terms contain your courses. And we'll dig into that in just a little bit. But you have to have these terms in place before you can put courses in them and put data in them and start setting things up. So here I've got a fall term that is from July 1st to December 31st. I know that doesn't make very much sense, but it's full 6 months. And then spring is the next 6 months, January 1st through June 30th. And then I got this extra term. I just called it PC term, and I'm overlapping it with the fall, which means it's non-standard. If you want to overlap a term, then you just call it non-standard by checking this box. And you can add as many terms as you want. It doesn't have to be fall and spring or fall, winter, spring. It could be start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and they could all be 5 weeks long. You actually build this. So you can definitely be traditional with Populi. You can also be non-traditional with Populi, but either way, we're not having you choose the semester term structure or the quarter structure or the non-traditional structure. You're just building it out by giving them whatever names you want and whatever start and end dates you want. If you want to add school closures, you can do that here. Let's say you want to be closed for Thanksgiving break, and that's in the middle of the term. You can add that in so that attendance won't be required on those days and all that. Good. So like I said, if you have questions on the rest of these settings, let me know. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds for people who just want a high overview, but definitely ask. Step 2, now that we got the most important settings done, step 2, set up your programs. So I already talked about one structure in Populi, and that is the academic year, contains terms, contains courses. The other structure is programs, and programs contain degrees, which contain degree requirements like a GPA and which courses they need to take in order to complete that degree. Now, my programs I have here, I'm naming in a very general way, because that way I could put 2 undergraduate or 3 undergraduate degrees in this one undergraduate program. Same with graduate, I could put multiple degrees in this one graduate program, and I could just have a bunch of continuing ed students going here. So I can keep these general. Why would I do it that way instead of at the program level, have this master's degree is one program, this master's degree is another program and another program and so on? It all depends on what you need. So a program is a handy way to build a container around a certain course of study. So at the program level, I can override the grade scale. I can have my own standings. I can override all of these settings here. So there's a lot of things. I can have my own full-time threshold. Each program will go on its own transcript. Each program will be associated with its own tuition schedule, and you could associate programs with fees. So if one master's degree has a different per credit charge than another one, then you could put those on 2 different programs because they have separate charges, separate tuition schedules. This is where this tuition schedule is. So that's the question you need to ask yourself. Do these 2 degrees have different standings? Do these 2 degrees need to be on separate transcripts? Is one of these degrees credits and the other one hours? Do these 2 degrees have different tuition charges? And so on. And if it's all the same, you could put it all in the same program. If it's different, you got to split it out into different programs. This is the basic information here. A name, what kind of units, credits, or hours. Tie it to one of my tuition schedules that my financial team has built. Decide, is this hidden from students or is it continuous enrollment, and go. And I can also set up my standings here. You can call these whatever you want. So I could have called this first year, whatever. But you do have to report it in a way that our iPads reporting can understand. So we will ask you to, okay, what does this correspond to? Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, something at a master's level, something at a doctoral level, because that's how iPads sorts it out. From 0 to 31, they will automatically get, depending on what I call this, freshman as a standing. And they'll have a tag there so that you can find all your freshmen really easily. And then once they hit 32, they'll automatically switch to sophomore. So you can put these minimum credits in so that it will track those. You can also do a parent system tag. This means that if there's any parents in the system of a freshman, then you have a tag where you can look up a freshman and just find all the freshmen in one place. And you can also have a tag that is parents of freshmen. And so you can get all the parents together and send them a mailing or something. All right, that is programs. The next up is course catalog. Now I said it goes programs contain degrees and degrees contain certain requirements, and that's totally true, and we're gonna get back to degrees. But we actually need to get our course catalog filled out because that's what's going to be put inside our degrees for our requirements. So our course catalog are all the courses we've ever thought about teaching, all the courses we taught in the past, all the courses we're teaching now, all the courses we want to teach in the future. It's just templates for all your courses. These have all been, we're all imported. If you imported data with us, or you might have entered these by hand. And then of course, along the way, you can add new courses. Give it a name, abbreviation, description if you want, tie it to one or more programs. And I can do multiple programs if it's gonna be connected to both. Tie it to a department if you're using departments. Not all our schools do. And then of course, how does the GPA calculated and so on? How many credits or hours or both? How are auditors treated? Is there a max number of auditors, a max number of enrolled students? What about prerequisites? Does it require, this course and this course? Or does it just require 3 out of any of the courses in this course group? Or does it require a certain number of credits? Or you can restrict it. So the handy thing about our prerequisites is that if you open up registration to students, then you'll be able to limit it to just the students who are supposed to be getting that course or not. All right, so we fill out our course catalog. Next up is course groups, degrees, and specializations. So next up, I can put a bunch of courses in a course group and I can divide these up however I want, but these are gonna be essentially what's gonna end up in my degree audit. We'll take a look at that in just a sec. But so here I decide to loop together all my 100 level architecture, 200 level, 300 level, 400 level art. If you're a nursing school or acupuncture school, clinical hours, core requirements, electives. So I can make as many of these groups as I want. I can even make these groups for a prerequisite. So remember before I said 3 courses out of this group of courses. So I can make a course group that's not really going to fit into a degree, but it's going to help me with my prerequisites. And the financial office could request that I make a group because they can pull fees off of certain groups. So you can make a group for them. Once you have those groups built, then you can go to your degrees and add a degree. Pretty straightforward at first. Give it a name, abbreviation, description if you want, tie it to a program, department if you want, what's the length, what's the level, this is for reporting reasons, zip code if you want, is it distance or not, and do they get a diploma or not. We call them degrees. I understand that some schools do certificates or whatever. That's just the jargon in Populi. But if it's not truly diploma, then you can uncheck that. So we could go undergrad or grad, and we have both schools. I'll go ahead and go to the undergrad example. And so here I've got my requirements. The very first thing you want to do is set up your requirements here. This is going to be blank when you first start. And so you're going to click add. Right now it's just edit, but for you it would be add if you're starting out. And you put in your cumulative GPA, how many units are required to get this degree, how many of those units have to be resident units. That means they're not transferred in. And there's some other things you can enter, but those are the basic ones. This has been my requirements ever since 2004. And just like in that other setting where I can change catalog years, I can add a new requirement year for this year. I don't have to do it every single year. I just do it whenever I change it, and that will keep your historic data accurate. Once I've done this, this has to be done first, my general requirements, then this will open up course groups, and I can start adding course groups. So here I've got core requirements and electives. That's kind of the most bare bones I've seen people do it. I'm requiring 42 credits or hours, whatever you guys are using. We just call them units in general because we have schools using different things. But I can do 42 of core requirements. And if I look at this course group and I kind of add up all these credit amounts, I'm pretty sure these add up to 42. So essentially what that means is the student, when they're looking at their own degree audit, which we'll check out in a sec, has to take every single credit in that core requirements group. Another example though, I've got electives, and that's requiring 18 credits. Excuse me. And we can see here that, I don't know, right about there, we've already got our 18 credits. And so this one has options. They don't have to take everything in it. They just need to mix and match and take whatever they want until they've got their 18. So that's what it means when you're going to set up your course groups, and why you might put more courses in one or less courses in another, and then you can tie it in with this requirement. Now, that's not it though. That's just the basic degree. It's just Bachelor of Science. But of course, they might want to do some kind of major. They have to choose a major. We call them specializations just because a lot of our schools will use different terms like majors, minors, emphases, different things like that. Let's go ahead and click on architecture. And architecture has the same thing. I've got my requirements I would add here. And I can make these a little bit more strict than my other requirements on my general degree. And I've got my other course groups here. So I had core requirements and electives on the general degree. And now I've got more specific architecture courses for this major. 14 units for this one, 20 for this one, 26 for this one. And I'm actually requiring an average GPA of each one of these courses as a 3.0 because they should be doing a little bit better on their architecture courses to get this major. So that's an example of how you could do that. All right, next up, step 5, add locations. Actually, before we do that, I told you I was going to show you the degree audit. And so let's do that, because really that's what you're setting up. When you're setting up all these requirements, you're creating a degree audit. And so here's Simon's student. He's one of our students at this fake school, your school here. I've given him, he's actually pursuing 2 programs right now, graduate and undergrad, and he's also pursuing the Bachelor of Science degree. He should be pursuing his master's too, but I don't have that entered in yet. And then here's his degree audit. And so this is for the Bachelor of Science because he doesn't have the master's yet. Here's his catalog year. Here's his specialization. And here's those general requirements. Is he meeting them or not? Well, yes, he's got a 3.16 for the 2.5 required for GPA. Doesn't have 120 credits yet, but he does have enough resident credits to make it work. Here's his core requirements. I can, by default, it's just going to show him what he's completed, but I can look at all or not completed. And most of these Simon has completed, although some of them he talked his advisor into swapping out. So he did not actually take Communication 101. He actually took Art 101 and his advisor swapped those out for each other. And here's 3 credits that were waived. And here's 3 credits that were transferred in during the admissions process. So there's some different ways that you can manage this degree audits to make it especially for Simon. Here are his electives. Here's all the ones he can choose from. Here's what he's taken so far. Here's one that could serve as an elective course, but it's actually already up here in core requirements. So his advisor or registrar or somebody could switch it down to here, and now it's taken out of his core requirements. So he doesn't quite have enough now. But if we put it back up there, now he's got enough for the core requirements. He still needs to complete some electives. Now we're down to the specialization, this major, the architecture major, and we can see there's a little extra 3.0 requirement here. Remember, I put that in. Some of these are completed, some are in progress, and all the way down. And then finally, we've got unused courses. So let's say Simon was taking a previous degree and switched. These are gonna, if they don't fall into his degree audit, they're gonna fall down here. You can also do a what if scenario. So Simon could put in the degree he's thinking of switching to, and it will list all the unused courses if he makes that switch, because maybe some courses he's already taken aren't going to help that new degree. Unused courses might also just be courses Simon took for fun along the way, or didn't plan very well, but these are all going to be here. And maybe he could talk with his advisor and see if they can swap some of those up in here for credit toward his degree. Okay, next up, we're going to do add locations. Now we're heading toward registration, but before we can actually get these courses set up, we want to add some locations. To do that, we're going to go to Campus Life. This is kind of a tool that helps you manage your dorm rooms and so on. But you can dig down in here and you can add multiple campuses. And then to those campuses, you can add buildings. So here's a building I have called the Lewis Building. It's on the main campus. Here's its address. It's got 3 floors, no basement, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rooms. Each room is identified what floor it's on and what capacity each room has. And I can add a new room if I want. Also, this building has its own sound system. So that's a resource that's connected to this building and no other building. I can zoom in on one of these rooms and I can see resources for rooms also. In fact, if I go to my calendar, I can pull up a calendar for any one of my resources, whether it's room resources, building resources, campus resources, or global resources. Like maybe a 15-passenger van that's shared between 2 campuses would be a global resource. You can also set these up to be dorms by tying them into your financial, and you have to talk with your financial team about that. And if I've got those dorms set up, then I'll be able to track which students are in which dorm and so on. So why do this? Why do locations matter? Let's keep going. But before we do that, we also need some faculty users. How do I add a faculty user? If I want to add any person to Populi, I have to click Add New Person, and I start typing in their name. Now I've shown in other videos how to do this, but essentially the first thing I type in is going to be the prefix and the first name. Anything in quotes is going to be preferred. Smith, it doesn't like commas, so Junior. All right, so prefix Dr., first John, preferred Johnny, last Smith, suffix Junior. If it doesn't get it right, then I can click on here and change it how I want, or add maybe a former name if this person has changed their name. I can go back here. And once you create their profile, you can add all kinds of information, any amount of information you want to them. But for this screen, instead of overwhelming you, we're just letting you, if you want, add a picture, phone, email, street, and maybe a role. If it's faculty, we want to add the faculty role. That way we can add them to courses. And maybe they're also a board member, and so I want to add that tag. Once I add this person, let's look up Anna here. So here's Anna. Let's say she's got the faculty role. She also works in admissions. And so once I add somebody, then I'll land on their profile page. I can see their info. I can add relationships for them and so on. Now, if I want them to be able to log in, then I have to click this little settings button. So notice there's 2 different types of people you can have. You can have people who are just in the system that don't log in. Maybe it's a student's parent, or maybe it's a student's younger sibling that you want to keep track of for future admissions opportunities. Maybe it's a local employer or a pastor if you're a religious institution. Either way, you can put all kinds of people in and record their contact info so you can send them things and give them a call and record your conversations with them in the activity feed, and without them needing to have access to Populi. If you want to go that extra step, which of course we do with our faculty, because we want our faculty to log in and enter grades and things like that, then we're going to want to click this settings button and make this person a user. Once I do that, I'll switch to is a user. I'm not going to talk about how to do this. I did this in the last video, but you can decide how your username is generated. This is what it's auto-generated as. They need an email address so that we can send them their contact info or their login info, and then I would hit save, and now they're a user. Next, add courses to a term. So we're bringing this all together. Hopefully you're still with me. We've got our calendar, which is academic year, contains terms, contains courses. We've got our programs, which contain degrees, and degrees have requirements. And so now all of it's coming together. We've got our terms here, and I can go back as far as I want to the very beginning or into the future if I've built terms out. And I can look at all my academic term information under here. So start and end dates, add drop dates, when does online registration open up, and so on. What courses am I offering during this term? what faculty are in those courses, what students are in those courses, and so on. And again, I can go back in time and take a look at this. Actually, we'll do this. Or I can go where I am now. This is old, so we're kind of back in time anyways, but pretend it's still 2013 and not 2020. All right, so here I can add courses, and I can do that by just adding one. I choose a department. If you haven't set up departments, no worries, just choose other. And then I can choose a course within that department. And this is pulling from that template we already set up in course catalog. So that's why I had to set that up first. And we can choose a section. There was already a section 1, so it's automatically going to go section 2. We can do start and end dates for this course, although by default, they're just going to be the same as the term. We can choose what campus it's on. We can choose if it's published right now or not. That means if I'm setting up like all of our courses have the full online learning LMS features built in. We're not going to talk about that today. But they all have that. So if you don't want it published right away because you don't want students getting in there quite yet, then you can choose no for that. And then remember how we create our faculty users? Now we can add those in. So I can say, Anna, put her in here, and she's our primary faculty. And then remember we did locations. Well, here I can add a meeting times for this course. I can say, this is class time, 8 to 9, Monday and Wednesday, repeats every week. And then here are those buildings. So Lewis building, Caspian room. And then that will have its own calendar on my calendar section here. So I can see which rooms have things going on in them when. So if I need to schedule a staff meeting, I can put it in a certain room that's not being used. Now I can add that meeting, and I can even add a second meeting like a lab. So this one is called class, and it meets then. And this one's called lab. I got it on a Thursday. And this one's going to be in the Lewis building and Dante room. If I want, I can have it automatically notify faculty and students about changes to meeting times, or leave that unchecked, and then I hit add course instance, and it populates that information. If this was all blank, I'm just starting out in fall, then what I could do, I haven't done any courses yet, I could import courses from another term. So I could say, oh, my fall 2013 is empty, but I could look at fall 2012 and see what we did then. Yeah, okay, it looks good. I think we can bring all those over, except we did drop these 2 courses. In fact, I want to clone all course data also. So this will bring over all the reading list assignments, all that LMS information from my last fall term, and bring all that over and hit save. So this is a real time saver. If you haven't put anything in your term window yet, then you could just bring it all over in one click. All right, so that is adding courses to a term. So just because a course is in your course catalog doesn't mean you're offering it. It's not technically offered until you put it into a term. And then you can add faculty to it and students can register for it, which is what our step 8 is, how to enroll students. There are 2 ways to do this by hand, or 3 ways to do this by hand. I'll show you those 3 ways first, and then I'll show you how students can do it themselves. One way is I, as the registrar, can go to Simon Student's profile on a student page, go down here to courses and click edit, and I can go back and forth until I find the term I want to look at. And then I search and type in the course for that term and select it. Populi will give me warnings. Maybe you already passed this course. Maybe it doesn't meet the prerequisites for this course. Maybe that course is full. Maybe it's a scheduling conflict. And I can just ignore those by hitting save, and it will override all those warnings. But I can at least see, oh, wait, no, I don't want him to take that again. He already passed it. So that's one way. I add courses to an individual student by searching for them. Second way is I can go to a course, and it's really the opposite of what I just said. I go to the roster on the course, and instead of adding courses to the student, I can add students to this course. So I can start searching for different names. This course is currently not allowing enrollments. Maybe there could be other, same kind of thing. If there's warnings, Populi will let you know, and I can save that and override it. This one's handy too, because I can actually import students from another course. So I could choose any term, any course in that term, and then see all the students who are enrolled in that course, and then say, yep, bring all those over. Well, except for Allie. Allie's taking leave of absence. And I hit save, and they all come over. Now, if I want it to respect all the enrollment requirements, I'll just hit save, and then I'll get an email saying which ones actually got registered and which ones didn't, because maybe they didn't meet the prerequisites or something. If I know what I'm doing, I just want to ignore all those warnings, then I can check that box and hit save, and it will automatically enroll all of them. So first way was add courses to student. Now we can add students to a course. The third way is we dig deep into our data slicer. This is a very powerful tool, but you got to really understand your logic, because we've got all kinds of data points you can pull from. People data points like age, birth date, and so on. Student data points like GPA and units attempted, what degree they have, lots and lots. If you have access to financial, then you can pull in some financial information here. And then any custom fields you guys have created, you can pull into here. So you can build this pretty complex report and filter down students that only meet those requirements. And once you've done that, you can save this as a report so that you don't have to generate it again. And then you can do all kinds of things here, including enroll students. So I could filter down to a group of students and then enroll those students in batch to a particular course in a particular term. Okay, those are the three ways to do it manually. Add a course to a student, add a student to a course, do it in batch here on the data slicer, and then here's the final one where students can do it themselves. You go to a particular term, whatever term you want to open online enrollment for, and you just hit this edit button right here. And I can do this the easy way, where I just say, everybody gets to start enrolling here, and then it's over on this date. Or I could say, well, actually my second year graduate students get to go first, and then first year graduate, and then seniors get to go. Oh, and also my honor students, my cum laude students get their own date and time. So I can stagger it however I want, so that certain students will be able to come in when you're ready for them, so that you can make sure your seniors actually can graduate. All right, once, I'm gonna pull up an image for this one just because it's easier. Once it's time for that particular student to register, they'll log in, and their very first alert they'll see is a registration now open. They'll see that right in the homepage as soon as they log in. So let's pretend we're Luke Dacona. Luke Dacona logged in, he clicked on that registration is now open, and Populi brought him to this page where he can register. We're kind of catching Luke halfway through because he's already enrolled in these 4 classes, and he's already auditing this class. He hasn't saved his changes yet. You can see what credits they're worth, who the faculty are, what the schedules are. You can see whether it's on campus or online. I don't have any online examples, but you can see some on-campus examples here. Because remember, every course has the full LMS features built in, so all this can be done online. And then there's 3 options Luke's gonna have. If he sees a clock, that means that the class is full, but he can be put on the waiting list. And if he clicks on that, he'll have an option to be put on the waiting list. Lock means he's just not allowed to register for it. This could be because there's a scheduling conflict, because he doesn't meet the prerequisites. Maybe you don't allow students, for different reasons. It's outside of his program, whatever. Or the plus symbol, and the plus symbol he can register or audit, depending, as long as there's enough room, and hop in there. And then when he's done, he clicks save. All right, so that's enrolling students. Next is course evaluations, and then we'll be coming in for a landing. Course evaluations, let's go and look at one I've already got built. Let's see, sample course evaluation. So I can build these out by putting headings throughout. I could put different types of questions throughout. This I think is called a Likert. And here's a yes, no, here's an essay. Here's add a question. So here's my different question types. Likert, short answer, long answer, multiple choice, They can only enter a number. They can say yes or no, or they can check multiple boxes. Each one of these can be applied to the course or the faculty. If it's applied to the faculty and there's, let's say, 2 faculty in a particular course, then it will ask this question twice, once for one faculty and once for the other. You can require it or not. And then once we've got it, here's our preview. This is what it looked like for the student. And we can tie this to a particular course or courses. We don't have any entrance evaluations right now. This is really just for the end of the term. And that's just going to be one time for the student. And I can set up the calendar for it here. Here's when it's available to the students. Here's when it locks grades for students, so they can't see their grades unless they complete it. And then this is how to make sure it's anonymous for the faculty. There's some options there. All right. Good. We're coming in for a landing. The last thing I'll show you is our transcript. All this stuff that you're setting up is coming together so that it can show the program, the degree, the major, cumulative information, and then all the different terms and attempted and earned credits. If you're a acupuncture or nursing school, you might have these clinical hours turned on. If not, then they won't be turned on, so you'll just see attempted credits and earned credits. I can export a transcript for the student. If the student was logged in, they could make an official transcript request. If I want to go ahead and export it, I just want to show you what it looks like. This is our default transcript layout. We got your logo up here, your school name, some information about the school, information about the student. I could have put in recipient school, but I did not. Some information here, transfer credit information, and then each term all the way down, attempted earned credits and so on. And again, we can add the clinical hours in if you need us to. If you don't like the way this looks, then we can build a custom transcript for us. Just work with our support team and we can get something set up. All right, that is the end of the overview, intro to academics and setting things up for your academics. Or if you already have it set up, but just we're always wondering who did this before us. I don't have any questions right now. So if you have a question, please type it away in that Q&A box and I'll be able to grab it and take a look. And I'll hold off just a couple minutes. I guess I'll just ramble and talk for a couple minutes as people might be typing their questions. Mary asks, can you go over rubrics real fast? Sure. Yeah, let's do it. All right. Under academics, there's 2 different places we can do rubrics. Let's see. Okay. First off, I need to decide, do I want to allow my faculty to create rubric criteria or not? So if you have a school with a lot of faculty who have tenure and things like that, they've been around for a long time, then you're probably going to let them do it their way. At least that's the way I've seen schools do it. Not everybody does, and that's fine. But if you want faculty to do it their way, then you're going to want to make sure this is switched to yes. That way, as you create rubrics, they can create their own rubric criteria and kind of mess around with it themselves. Okay, if you say no, then they're not allowed to create their own rubric criteria. This would be more like if you had a bunch of adjunct faculty and you wanted them to be limited to how you guys set up your rubrics. So first you need that setting. Then we can look up our rubrics and I can hit add a rubric, create a new one or duplicate an existing one. And I really just need to give it a name and a description. This is what this one looks like. Composition, published, description. Once I've created the rubric, then I can create some criteria or that I can bring in to different rubrics. So I can add a new criteria, copy from an existing. Let's just copy this one. Citations. Well, I don't want to say that. We'll do this. So I give it a name, description. Do I want to publish it right away or not? And how do I want this? Just top level or range? And then I can give these different names and descriptions and add multiple levels. For example, grammar's got 4 levels. This one's already in use, so I can't change it. Someone's already used it to grade somebody, so you don't want to mess that up. So I can create a copy of this if I want to edit it, but I don't want to screw up the old one. And this one I chose a range, 90 to 100, excellent, 60 to 89, very good, and poor. I think this one has a little more detail where I actually did a description for each one. So excellent means well organized thought and interaction with the sources that is expressed with clarity, vigor, and originality, and all the way down. Once I've created those criteria, then I can bring them into my rubric. Here's 3 I already have. I can grab these to move them around, or I can add a new one. In fact, I can just create a new one on the fly right here if I want, and then that will end up on my criteria list. Once I have this all set up, then I can go to my course. Again, every course has all the LMS features built in if you need them. And I can go to a particular assignment. This is a file submission assignment. And so I can look at Simon and see that he's given me a number of files. Here's one that I've been reviewing and looking at and even annotating. We've been talking back and forth about this. Now it's time for me to enter his grades, and I can put all this in a rubric. I can either put these numbers up here, and we'll choose the right box. So I'm choosing a little more specific numbers than it wants, and it's going to put in that range. Or I can just do it the fast way and click through these and choose which one I want, and it will give me the high end of those points. I can also just add rubrics here. So instead of zooming in on one student, I can enter grades, and then I can grab a rubric score for any one of these students. Any other questions? And I think Mary, I can't remember, on our YouTube channel might have a whole video dedicated to rubrics. All right, looks like we're coming in for a landing. You're welcome, Mary. Good, I'm glad that helped. And if no one else has any questions, then we'll wrap it up. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. If you're fast scribbling away, typing away, getting a question out, go ahead and hit enter so I know you're doing it if you got much more to write. But it looks like we're done. So look for this on the YouTube channel, and you can find other stuff there too. If you have any questions, reach out to our support team. If you want to get more in depth, you can reach out and do more like a webinar. You can reach out to your account manager. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.